What if I told you that one of the most iconic luxury resorts in Las Vegas is now one of the worst values on the entire Strip? The Venetian built its reputation on grandeur, Italian architecture, all-suite rooms, and an experience that felt worth every dollar. But in 2025, guests are discovering a different reality: prices climbing, fees piling up, quality slipping in ways you cannot ignore. In today's countdown, we are breaking down exactly why the Venetian is becoming one of Vegas's most overpriced hotels, and the final reason might change where you decide to stay. Number 10. Suite prices spiraling with no real upgrade. The Venetian has always marketed itself as the home of the largest standard suites on the Las Vegas Strip. At 650 to 750 square feet, they are impressive on paper. And yes, the resort announced a $1.5 billion renovation starting in 2024. But here's the problem: many guests are still being placed in rooms that have not been touched. Dated fixtures, tired decor, the same layouts from years ago. Meanwhile, nightly rates have climbed dramatically. On a regular weekend, you are looking at $300 to $500 a night. Peak weekends, some guests report rates exceeding $700. For that kind of money, you would expect something transformative: fresh finishes, modern upgrades. Instead, what many travelers find is the same room their parents stayed in a decade ago, just with a much bigger price tag attached. The promise of luxury suites still exists, but the gap between what you are paying and what you are actually getting has never been wider. And when you factor in what comes next, that gap becomes a canyon. Number 9. Resort fees that push stays into sticker shock territory. Let us talk about the real cost of staying at the Venetian. You book what looks like a reasonable rate online, maybe $250 a night. Feels manageable. Then you check in, and reality hits. The Venetian charges a resort fee of $55 plus tax per night. That brings it to nearly $57 once everything is calculated. For a 3-night stay, you are adding roughly $170 to your bill before you have even ordered room service or set foot by the pool. What do you get for that fee? Access to the fitness center, Wi-Fi, boarding pass printing, a digital newspaper app. These are things most travelers expect to be included at a luxury property, not billed as add-ons. And here is the kicker: the Venetian's resort fee is among the highest on the entire Strip. It ranks in the top 6 most expensive in all of Las Vegas. That is not a badge of honor. That is a warning sign. When the final bill arrives, and it is $150 to $200 higher than what you originally budgeted, resentment builds fast. The experience starts to feel less like a vacation and more like a trap. But inflated costs are just the beginning, because once you step out of your room, the crowds waiting for you might make you wonder if this is still a luxury resort at all. Number 8. Crowded public areas that kill the upscale vibe. The Venetian was designed to feel like a stroll through Venice. Cobblestone walkways, painted skies, gondolas gliding beneath arched bridges. It was always theatrical, but it also used to feel elegant. Not anymore. Walk through the Grand Canal shops on any given weekend, and you will feel like you are navigating a theme park, not a luxury resort. The casino floor pulses with noise and congestion. The walkways between towers are jammed with guests dragging luggage, tourists snapping photos, and crowds that never seem to thin out. Part of this is success. The Venetian and Palazzo combined house over 7,000 suites. That is a small city under one roof. But when you are paying premium prices, the last thing you want is to feel like just another face in a sea of thousands. The problem is amplified during conventions and holidays. Lines spill out of restaurants. Seating areas overflow. Even finding a quiet corner to check your phone becomes a mission. This was never what the Venetian promised. The resort was built to deliver an escape, not a crowd crush. And when the elegance gets swallowed by sheer volume, you have to ask yourself what exactly you are paying for. And if you are hoping the restaurants will offer a breather from the chaos, brace yourself. What happens there surprises even longtime Venetian fans. Number 7. Dining options with fine dining prices for casual food. The Venetian boasts over 40 restaurants. On paper, that sounds incredible. Celebrity chefs, global cuisines, Michelin-worthy experiences alongside quick bites. But here is what guests are discovering in 2025. Even the casual options are not casual anymore when it comes to price. Visitors have reported paying $44 for a basic breakfast at one of the resort's cafes. Coffee, sparkling water, and a bagel with salmon. No alcohol, no elaborate presentation, just standard fare at a price that belongs on a fine dining menu. At one of the Asian restaurants inside the property, 3 small dim sum appetizers plus sparkling water exceeded $80 before tip. No main course, no dessert, just small plates and sticker shock. And it is not just the sit-down spots. At the pool, a bottle of water runs $9. A single soda is $7. Cocktails start at $22. You can easily spend $50 just hydrating for the afternoon. Even the food courts, which once offered a budget-friendly escape, now feature items creeping into the $20 to $30 range for what amounts to fast casual fare. The variety is still there, but the value has evaporated. For many families and couples, dining at the Venetian no longer feels like a treat. It feels like getting squeezed. And if you think retreating to your room will offer relief, you might want to take a closer look at what is inside those so-called luxury suites. Number 6. Aging suites that do not reflect luxury prices. The Venetian loves to remind you that its suites are the largest standard rooms on the Strip. And at 650 square feet for a king suite, that is technically true. But square footage alone does not equal luxury. Here is what many guests are finding behind those doors. Bathrooms that feel stuck in a previous decade. Fixtures showing wear. Carpets that have seen better days. Furniture that looks impressive from a distance but reveals its age up close. Reviews mention everything from low water pressure to outdated lighting to towels that feel thin and over-bleached. Yes, the resort has committed to renovating all 4,000 suites in the Venetian towers. Some rooms have already been refreshed with modern finishes and updated designs. But here is the catch. Many guests are still being placed in unrenovated rooms, especially during busy periods. You might book expecting the sleek new interiors shown on the website and instead walk into a space that has not been updated since the early 2000s. And when your nightly rate is $300, $400, even $500, that disconnect stings. A luxury suite should feel luxurious, not like a relic with a fresh coat of marketing. And after a long day of navigating crowds and paying premium prices, returning to a tired room only adds to the disappointment. But long before you reach the room, the property reveals another frustration entirely, the kind that wears you down step by step. Number 5. A long walk for everything. The Venetian is massive. Over 7,000 suites spread across multiple towers, millions of square feet of convention space, casinos, shopping, and restaurants. It is an empire built on grandeur. But grandeur comes with a cost: your feet. Getting from the main lobby to some of the furthest rooms can take 10 to 15 minutes, and that is if you know where you are going. First-time guests often find themselves lost in a maze of hallways, escalators, and winding corridors that seem designed more for spectacle than convenience. Want a quick cup of coffee in the morning? That is a hike. Need to grab something from the car? Better set aside 20 minutes. Heading to the pool? Hope you are wearing comfortable shoes and have the patience for it. For families with young children, elderly travelers, or anyone with mobility challenges, the sheer scale of the property becomes exhausting. What starts as impressive quickly turns into irritating. You did not come to Vegas to train for a marathon, you came to relax. And do not even think about forgetting something in your room before dinner. That round trip will cost you 25 minutes and leave you showing up late to your reservation. The Venetian does not feel designed for guests. It feels designed to impress architects. Other resorts on the Strip have sprawling footprints too, but few feel quite as labyrinthine as the Venetian. And when every simple errand becomes a cardio session, the charm wears thin fast. You might think that at least the service would make up for all that inconvenience. After all, this is supposed to be a luxury resort, but what guests are experiencing tells a different story. Number 4, slow service at peak times. Luxury is not just about marble floors and gilded ceilings. It is about how you are treated. And at the Venetian, that experience has become increasingly inconsistent and frustrating for paying guests. Check-in lines during busy weekends can stretch painfully long. Guests report waiting 30 minutes or more just to get their room keys. Housekeeping delays have become a recurring complaint, with some visitors noting that their rooms were not cleaned unless they specifically called and requested it. Restaurants that once seated guests promptly now require lengthy waits, even with reservations. Front desk interactions, which should feel seamless at a property of this caliber, sometimes resemble the efficiency of a DMV counter. The irony is that the Venetian charges some of the highest prices on the Strip. Resort fees alone put it in the top tier, but the service does not always match that premium. When you are paying $500 a night and still feel like you are waiting in line at a budget motel, something has gone wrong. And it is not just one department. The cracks show everywhere. Pool attendants stretched thin across acres of deck space. Valet lines backing up during peak checkout. Concierge desks where getting a simple dinner recommendation takes longer than it should. The little touches that define luxury hospitality are slipping through the cracks. Some of this stems from staffing challenges that have hit hospitality across the board. But explanations do not erase the frustration. Guests do not come to Vegas to make excuses for the hotels. They come to be taken care of. And if you are hoping to escape the chaos by heading to the pool, well, prepare yourself, because relaxation there comes with its own price tag. Number 3, premium pools with underwhelming value. The Venetian pool deck is undeniably beautiful. Multiple pools spread across acres of space, cabanas that look like private retreats, a vibe that promises Mediterranean luxury under the desert sun. But once you start looking at what it actually costs to enjoy, the shine fades fast. Cabanas at the Venetian range from 300 to 788 square feet. Prices vary, but on peak days, you can easily spend several $100s just to secure a shaded spot with air conditioning and a stocked refrigerator. Not interested in a cabana? Day beds are available too, but they come with their own rental fees and sometimes mandatory food and beverage minimums. Even reserving a standard lounge chair can cost money. And once you are poolside, the gouging continues. A bottle of Evian runs $9 to $11, depending on size. Sodas are $7. Cocktails start at $22 each. Spend a few hours by the water with a couple of drinks and snacks, and you have easily burned through $100 without even trying. The pool should be a highlight, a place to unwind after a long day. Instead, it has become another extraction point, another opportunity for the Venetian to reach into your wallet. And speaking of reaching into your wallet, what comes next might be the most exhausting part of the entire experience. Number 2, upsells everywhere you turn. From the moment you arrive at the Venetian, the monetization begins, and it never really stops. Want to check in early? That will be a fee. Late checkout? Another fee. Hoping to upgrade your room for a better view? The front desk is happy to accommodate for an additional charge. Feel like taking a gondola ride along the canal? That is $39 per person. Want the boat to yourself for a more romantic experience? $156. Photo packages start at $40 on top of that. Head to the pool, and cabana fees await. Visit the spa, and premium treatments rack up fast. Even something as simple as a rollaway bed costs $50 per night. The resort has mastered the art of making every moment feel like a transaction. Nothing is included, nothing is complimentary, nothing is simply part of the experience you already paid handsomely for. For guests used to luxury properties where small touches are woven into the stay, the Venetian's relentless upselling feels jarring. It chips away at the fantasy. It reminds you constantly that this is not about hospitality. It is about extraction. And when you add it all up, the room rate, the resort fees, the dining, the extras, you arrive at the real issue, the one that sits at the heart of everything. Number 1, the value just is not there anymore. This is where it all comes together. This is the truth that longtime Venetian fans are struggling to accept. The Venetian still looks stunning. The architecture still impresses. The scale still takes your breath away when you walk through those doors for the first time. But none of that matters if the cost-to-experience ratio has collapsed. And in 2025, it has. You are paying $500 a night or more for rooms that may not have been updated in years. You are adding nearly $60 a night in resort fees for amenities that should be standard. You are navigating crowds that make the property feel more like a convention center than a luxury escape. You are being upsold at every turn, gouged at every restaurant, and nickel and dimed at the pool. The Venetian built its reputation on delivering something extraordinary, a taste of Venice in the desert, an all-sweet experience that made guests feel like royalty. But somewhere along the way, the focus shifted, from hospitality to extraction, from experience to revenue. Other properties on the Strip offer comparable rooms for less, better service for the same price, fewer fees, smaller crowds, and an atmosphere that still prioritizes the guest. The Venetian is not broken, but the value is gone. And until prices drop, quality rises, and the guest experience returns to the center of the equation. Staying here is not a luxury. It is a gamble you are almost guaranteed to lose. So what do you think? Has the Venetian lost its magic? Or is there still hope for this iconic resort? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let us know.